So basically, today's theme is Keyframe turning her back to the audience.
No, it's only for the pre-show, so that way I can put all the questions in.
Yeah, I mean, this is a very fair point, but then again, hello and welcome everybody to the AWKWARDCast. AMI and Keyframe wonder about random dribble for the 19th time, and today we are not alone, we have somebody visiting us today for a completely random and odd number, but there is a reason. I swear there is a reason. With us, the Yuri.
Hi guys.
You might, if you are a very faithful viewer to yours truly, you might have seen him before on my Let's Play channel, because he's the guy I do gaming in ties with. Link below, obviously. And yeah, we had joint adventures this week, which is why I was like, hey, don't you want to share your beautiful experiences you made this week together with me tomorrow at the AWKWARDCast?
I hung out with Lauren last week, but we don't see us inviting Lauren onto an odd numbered podcast.
Well, first of all, you are the one who is always like, no guests, and second of all, you never asked.
Not saying she's broken.
Second, you never asked to bring her.
I hate when mommy and daddy are fighting.
So Yuri, how was your week?
Crazy and confusing and without any sleeps whatsoever. I had good sleep this night, but the rest of the week was just a mess out of cannot get any sleep for some stupid reason. You know, when you are just laying down and you're thinking, I'm so tired, but you cannot get sleep.
Basically classic insomnia.
Yeah.
Trust me, I know that, dude. Yesterday was actually the first night in like a couple of weeks I got a full night's sleep. That's only because I took like some ZQL and shit. But yeah, insomnia. That's just lovely.
Yeah.
I had good sleep throughout the week, unless for the nights where I just went to bed late. So.
Good for you.
Good for you. Yeah, Mr. First World Problem doesn't have this problem, so that's great.
No.
You know it.
Good for you.
But on the other hand, I had a pretty good week besides the lack of sleep. Did a lot of things, sorted some real life problems out of my way, and I actually getting back into preparation for my own streaming stuff, and also joined ANY on his stream, and we're doing the show, and we had the second run, which was better, and it's just exciting to get back into streaming again because I like it so much, fiddling around with techniques and all the stuff, so it's good. We're getting there, and weather-wise, we are suddenly have summer now, and we are in autumn, so it's completely confusing because now we have sunny days, it's warm, it's actually nice to be outside, and this we didn't have for most of the summer, so a bit confusing.
Well, soon polar bears will be walking around in June. That's just how the world's gonna fall apart soon.
It's still not warm, it's just sunny and nice, but it's like not necessarily.
In the morning it's cold as hell,
yeah. It's not short weather, so that's one thing. But yeah, there was also the certain thing Yuri and I went to yesterday because I discovered rather spontaneously the week before last or whatever that there is a ComicCon here in Berlin, like ComicCon with the logo and everything.
You did that?
You
didn't know that? I knew that.
Well, it's in retrospect, it kind of makes sense that one didn't know about it, because it's really not the biggest convention of them all. I mean, yeah.
Random pictures, random.
random pictures, random. I didn't know where to put it. But yeah, we went to ComicCon, but let's see. Can I find the floor plan? No, the floor plan is only on Twitter.
Didn't you like the floor plan? I think I remember you showing the floor plan was only like 2 floors and everything. A lot of stuff was just open area.
Yeah, it was like, Yuri, do you want to?
I will explain this. So the reason why we didn't recognize the floor plan in the first place, because the layout of the printout was made like you would turn a cereal box and would see one of those crazy stuff on the back. Yeah, there it is. And it didn't look like a floor plan at all.
It
was like just a random boxes with fancy bright colors, and we simply overlooked it because it looked so strange to us. Also, we thought this cannot be it. There are just two holes. Imagine this. This was in Berlin, in one of the most biggest fair areas, convention halls ever. You have around 20 big convention halls in just a ring.
And on 2 layers.
Actually 3 layers even. You have basement, you have the ground level one, which is the one you have to, funny thing, you have to step down one staircase to get to the ground level, and then you have the upper floor. So every hall could potentially have 3 layers. So now ComicCon had just 2 of those layers, or 2 halls basically. It was 1.2 and 3.2 or something like that.
This gives me flashbacks to when I went to Too Many Games in Philadelphia, because that game is a pretty big convention in attendance, but it's only 1 hall. And that's it.
Also,
like, there's a giant open area for the vendors, there's a concert and arcade area, and 3 panel rooms, but it's all on just 1 floor.
Yeah, and also, if you take a closer look, what they actually do with those floors. So you see the blue areas? Those are merchants. So basically, one of the halls is more or less a vending hall already. Mm-hmm. Then you see the pink area, taking up a lot of space here, This is where the pimping took place. And when I say pimping, I mean like more or less literal whoring out. I didn't take a picture of this one, but they had like 24 stars there. And stars, I mean like the original Flash Gordon. Half the secondary...
He was so alone.
Oh, yes.
It was so sad. He was one of those guys which had an open table, so you could just walk by him.
Unlike those
there
guys
was
here.
no line for him. Nobody was there, and it was so sad.
It kind of
I was close to just going up and just talking to him, but everything was paying up front for just a meet and greet or get a shot or an autograph.
Autographs basically started with 15 euros upwards. I mean, for King Joffrey, which was probably the highest tier star they got. For King Joffrey, it was like, I believe, 40 for the autogram with a fat no selfie sign on his desk, because you could also pay 60 more bucks for a photo shoot with him.
God, King Joffrey really is King Joffrey, I swear.
No, but it was for all the stars like this. Yeah. All the stars had like paid autographs, paid photo shoots.
It was also a mixed bag of stars. Mm-hmm. I mean, we had the original cast of the bounty hunter crew from Star Wars, Imperium Strikes Back. So the scene where all those bounty hunters are on the bridge of a Star Destroyer and Darth Vader is walking around and talk to him to catch the Millennium Falcon. Those guys were there as stars. And obviously you could not even recognize those old dudes because they were not in their makeup, because those bounty hunters were alien species stuff and such. So it was weird. Pamela Anderson was there, I guess. Yeah. The guy from Iron Fist, which is not that great, to be honest. I mean, it's Iron Fist, right? It's one of the worst Marvel show ever.
We have surprises. Oh, okay. King Joffrey, autograph, 35 euro. Photo shoot in a pre-sale, another 35. Photo shoot at the event, 40. Photo shoot on the Iron Throne, 50. Apparently they had Iron Throne, but it was hidden somewhere in a paid area, so I didn't even see it. Let's see, do we find more expensive people?
See, I laugh whenever I hear this stuff because every time I've gone to a general convention, there's like these paid things, but somehow I end up getting the stuff without paying.
Oh,
no, because 9 times out of 10 I'm walking around in the area where they walk around, and because I've had conversations with Stan Lee, the Fonz, multiple voice actors like Rob Paulson and like the voice of Pinky and the Brain and stuff, and I've never had to pay money once.
But yeah, I also... I don't know.
I mean, we had a discussion, A and Y and me. We had a discussion regarding this topic. I do not expect anyone to just spend time on a convention and get nothing worthwhile for his time. That's my stance on it. But when it's coming to a point where everything is paid, just meet and greet and such, it gets a little bit... You have this weird aftertaste of just selling out. So I don't know.
Yeah,
but also the
like
problem...
$35 for an autograph? I mean, $5 is an okay fee, I would say. Like, okay, I would still be, because I'm like Yuri, not at all into star hype. I personally would never pay like $5 just to say hello to a person. Because at the end of the day, they are just people. Like you, me, they just have to have attention.
I mean, at pony conventions, I think autograph vouchers are like $10 to $20 depending on the person, so they're always overpriced.
Yeah, but
yeah, it's a convention thing, right?
It's a convention thing because 9 times out of 10, they don't pay the people to come there, so that's their way of making money. I only allow it for voice actors and stuff because the way the union works, they get paid shit compared to the big actors, which is why I get really annoyed at the King Joffrey one, because he's obviously getting residuals from the show. So it's like, even if he's not on the show anymore, he's still making bank, and it's annoying that he's asking for this much money.
The question is he, because the prices are pretty on the same level, it's probably not him asking for it, it is some kind of agreement the con had with all their guests.
Or maybe the agents or something.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't know how unions work with this kind of stuff, so maybe they just had one group agent for this entire section of people, and it's like this covers them being there as well as the agents' dues or something. I don't know. I've never been at that level where I need an agent to pay for money. One day I will, but like
I assume it's something like this because I don't want to think of any of those stars like, I only talk to people if they pay me at least $20. I don't want to think of them like that.
The giant no selfie sign though is kind of like.
But still, I don't think that Jack Gleason, which is King Joffrey's actual name, would have put this up there himself. This was staff.
Yeah, I'm just saying whoever the agent was who was like, okay, we got to put this big no selfie sign there. I want to take a picture with the no selfie sign though. I wonder.
But
I mean, considering the situation on this particular con, it was more distasteful, I would say, because the con was completely disorganized. It felt like everything was happening at random. For me, it was like 3 dudes coming together and saying, we want to make a Comic-Con as well. And then they were surprised people showed up for it, and they said, yeah, just go over there, everything will work out. Lines were forming at random in the hall. Just at random, because there was no structure in the lines, and since so many people went to get their photo shoots and all the stuff and want to go to the panels, the panels we will talk about in a minute, I guess, but the whole structure and the whole layout of everything was just confusing and not organized at all. So the experience we had was, it was not so many people on the con, but it was hard to navigate anyway, because there was always a line for everything, but it was going through the hall in a straight, not in a straight line, in a very random line. So everything was kind of blocked and kind of not. And so it was completely confusing. And it was without effort and without care, the whole layout.
Yeah. And the weird thing about this unorganizedness is this wasn't the first one. I talked to people who have been like, oh yeah, last year it was bigger.
Yeah.
So they shrank it down. They did no advertisement because, once again, I just discovered posters for it a week before. They have not been there before.
There was no media, no PR for it whatsoever.
No PR, 2 tiny halls. Okay, the halls themselves have been big, but only 2 halls. I don't get it. But they flew in over 20 stars. I really don't understand what was going on in their heads.
Mm-hmm.
This is like the bad version of Too Many Games, because Too Many Games is probably smaller, but it's been running for almost 20 years.
Oh my.
And oh yeah, it's a retro game convention, so of course it has a much wider audience.
So basically it started out as a hip modern pop game convention, but it simply went on, and eventually the games they used to bring up against turned retro.
Yeah, but like they had all these, they had a bunch of big stars. Well, for the video game industry, like they had John Singh, the voice of Duke Nukem. They had all these people, and then like a bunch of internet people like Cat Icarus and Some Call Me Johnny, all this stuff, and my employer DA Games and everything. But everything was so tightly ran. All the lines did in the small hall, which converged with arcades and the vendor hall. All the lines were nice and neatly tucked away, so you never like accidentally walked into a line. Everything was so perfectly organized. And we met the con chairs. There's only 3 con chairs running this whole thing.
Nice.
But they're not stupid.
But yeah, Yuri and me, with our 8 rounds we took, because well, eventually we started to take round after round in the hope that something interesting would pop into existence.
Yeah.
We needed to constantly actually pass through lines, like excuse me.
For everything, for random shit, coffee stands, food stands, like the booths and such. And now we're getting to the other point why this convention was actually bad. Not only was there actually not really that much content going on, there were 2 panel stages. Those 2 panel stages were in the middle of a hall without any sound protection. It was not a separate room. It was just a line of chairs in the middle of a hall, a little bit to the side tucked away, but still. And there were stands for comic shopping and vanity item shopping exactly on the side of the panel lines or of the chair lines.
Yep.
And the sound of the panels were completely utter horrible. You could not understand anything. And we went to one big panel. We stumbled into the Games of Thrones panel, which was a highlight, you would think, because it's Games of Thrones and a lot of the cast was there for this panel. You could not understand anything, obviously. And after that, there was this big cosplay thing where they had a lot of cosplayers coming up to the stage and
Cosplay contest.
Exactly. And we could not understand those folks either, because they had something prepared to happening with sounds when they coming up to the stage. So the technical stuff was shit as well, without any care. And that's what's so puzzling to me when you have such a place where there are a lot of conventions going on for all folks, for all industry on this area in general, and you're getting there and nothing seems to be working as planned. It was always, I felt, this is so close to be exciting or good, but it's not quite there. And in the end, we were just confused. It was not even that we were disappointed, we were just confused. We're missing something. Something is happening here we do not get. And maybe it's because we were the wrong target audience, because it was basically just shopping stuff in a very disorganized way and getting a meet and greet with your stuff from Games of Thrones or Flash Gordon if you're into that.
But I wouldn't even say that it is that, because We left on Saturday at 4. It was open until 7. We left at 4 because we literally didn't have anything left to do. I took a picture of every single cosplayer I saw throughout the day. Because at the end I was like, okay, now I want to... Yeah, I know.
It was around 5 pictures, actually.
There were more. There were more people, obviously. But later I was like, okay, let's do one final round. And I take pictures of all the awesome cosplayers I saw earlier. And I was able to do this one round to find everybody again because it was so small. But then when we left at 4 and we drove on the street leading away from the convention center, there were already like masses of people going. We have not been the only ones who had nothing left to do there and went home at 4. 3 hours before the convention closed.
And then went on for another day.
Yes.
It's actually today, it was still open.
Yeah, I had a 2-day pass. I bought myself a 2-day pass because I was excited for this, to get out, meet more nerds, whatnot. Today morning I was like, I sleep in. Why should I get out of bed and go and drive there with the subway? And I don't understand why. I don't understand.
You know what I feel the worst for, though, out of that entire situation? I feel bad for whoever vends at that convention, because if everyone left at 4, those poor people sitting at their... Because I've been vending at conventions where there were just dead areas where the vendor hall did not have people in it, but those were only for like 20-minute increments for 3 hours. Oh.
Keyframe. The good news is most of those vendors have just sold T-shirts anyways. There have been very few actual original artists. All
the same T-shirts. That was the problem. If it would be specifically for one part of nerd culture, like, hey, this is about all the stupid sitcoms from the, I don't know, 90s or something. But it was not that. It was just the stuff you would find in the internet from EMP and all your merch stores. It was merch. It was not even that geeky.
Szechuan sauce shirt at every single table.
There were a few Rick and Morty shirts, indeed. But I don't understand why. Berlin has a very strong nerd culture. We have, I believe, at least one anime convention which is rather successful, which I might check out next year. We have Euroferns, Europe's biggest furry convention, period. And it happens here every year, and it stays big. We have a video game museum, which is constantly open the entire year. We have enough.
We're actually free.
We have 3 video game museums. I only know the one that's a big street. I have no idea what the street name is. This very wide promenade street.
Frankfurt Alley, I know the place.
So yeah, we have enough potentially. I don't know why they make it so small, and at the same time get so many stars pouring out there. I don't understand why. I wanted this to be awesome.
How do they keep running? Because obviously you do have to pay these stars at least some amount. So it's like, why spend the budget to bring all these stars here if you're not going to advertise it? It's a miracle they must be still running, because it's like, you must be in the red when this is all over.
It's also going on monthly through Europe, apparently. Yeah. They are setting up the next convention in almost 4 weeks in another big city. It doesn't matter.
But I believe Dortmund is left, but
yeah. And what was really surprising me, there were actually no spaces to sit down, because that's a huge thing about conventions where you have people coming together. And what was one thing which bothered me the most? You could not sit down with someone you just met and you get into talk because he has a neat cosplay and whatever, and you talk to each other, and there was no place to just sit down and maybe talk for half an hour. Not outside, not inside. There was no lounge area, none whatsoever. And that was actually a bit of a bummer, because you were always in some kind of in way of something. You could not really talk. It was photo shootings going on when the people made shots of each other, but there was no dedicated area for that one either. So it was happening everything by coincidence. And one of the most important things for a convention of this type for me is interacting with other people getting there. coming there from other cities, talking about the nerd shit which is going on. Because shopping areas are not that exciting to begin with, for me at least. I'm not really a big panel guy. If a panel is not really specific about stuff I'm interested in. So what I'm usually doing, I'm seeking out people and just talking with the people to just get interaction. This was not happening there, and this convention was going on for 2 days. Missed opportunity, I would say. So let's finish this in conclusion. This convention was underwhelming and also pretty strange, because there was so much opportunities just left aside, because I feel the guys which run the convention have no clue what a convention of this topic should be about.
Agreed.
It was a bust.
So, after 25 minutes of ranting and venting about German ComicCon Berlin, Keyframe, how was your week? Anything special happened?
Actually, there has been, my friend. There has been.
Ooh.
So, I spent most of this week working on a painting, and
Yay.
I've been working on this painting for 3 months. What did you just show off?
I forgot to mention, I actually got something at least from it, because I didn't have a doormat so far, so I got myself a doormat.
Oh, that's
let my
cool.
neighbors know who they are dealing with.
Oh, that's actually pretty smart. But
sorry.
So I've been working on this painting for 3 months, basically every day for 3 months. And I had to stop last week for reasons, but then as soon as my hands stopped shaking, I went right back to it, and I would paint for maybe 6 hours a day, and I finally got it done. And I'm going to actually zoom it on the camera, because what took the longest time was the hair. Those are individual strands that are painted. Mm-hmm. I'm terrible at guiding the camera because I can't see where I'm pointing at.
We're getting closer to the hair.
Yeah, hold on, hot and cold right there. But yeah, individual strands
ice
painted.
Cold. Warm, hot, warmer. Yay.
There we go.
There,
yeah.
Ooh, hair, a lot of hair.
Yeah, it is a lot of hair, and it took a long time.
I'm pretty sure it will make. I'm pretty sure it will make at least $20.
Yuri, can you punch him the next time you see him for me?
I will. Yeah, I will.
Thank you. This is the beginning of a great friendship and a partnership of causing him physical pain. But no,
Finally, Keyframe has a tool to inflict pain on A and Y.
No, the best part, Yuri, when I visit, you and I can just gang up on him. You hold him back, and I can punch him in the face.
Oh my, both at once.
Left that. All right.
But no,
Keyframe, it looks good.
Thank you. I finally finished it, and I'm going to actually be selling it at Oktoberfest in a few weeks at in a silent auction at my table, since I'm vending. But the coolest part was I didn't tag the voice actor for this character into it, Nicole Oliver. I didn't at her or anything on Twitter, and she found it and she retweeted it, and that was the highlight of my fucking day. I was like, senpai. And it was just I don't go into fame hype a lot, but that is a really good feeling to feel.
All this endorphins. All this endorphins because someone noticed your hard work. That's
yes. Cool. When you have someone that constantly just kind of says, oh, it's worth $20, hearing someone of actual value say that it's good.
Yeah.
But no, that was the highlight of my weekend. Then besides that, I went back to doing workout and stuff, and my workout's a lot more intense because it's a lot of climbing. I do a lot of climbing to build up muscle in the abdominal area. Mm-hmm. And holy crap, when I returned to it, because I didn't work out for a week, I have you ever seen the show Dan Versus? The episode where he was like Dan versus the gym, and he was in the exercise coma and couldn't move. That was me on Tuesday, and it was both wonderful and terrible at the same time.
Yeah.
My week was uneventful, but it was a good kind of uneventful because yesterday there was like an anime night where we watched a bunch of anime.
Oh yeah, there
wasn't
there.
We watched High School of the Dead, which is amazingly stupid. And
It's hilarious, right?
oh, it's great. And my favorite part was the girl who kicked the other girl's face down the stairs. It was great. But yeah, so we had all that, and this way I can go. Does anyone have stuff to talk about this week, or can we go into media?
I didn't really have. I mean, earlier I saw a certain movie that is not out yet, but for those very reasons I will not talk about it. But I might or might not make a video of it since I have the next 2 days off.
Oh, cool. Also, I heard you went to go see Demon Clown movie.
Which would
good
be my
for
medium.
you. Well, I know, yeah, but Golden Fox went to go see it too, and he asked me, "Hey, Chrissy, you want to go?" And I was like, "No." There is
talking
no.
about it. Is
If
it
there's
it?
a snowball's chance in hell that you're gonna ever take me to go see it. I can't.
I read the book. I will not go to this movie. Sorry.
No, I read the book too, because I have read almost every Stephen King book that has been turned into a movie, and I've seen the miniseries. That's all. That's my threshold. I hate clowns. I have I have very few crippling fears in my life. Clowns
are one of them. Yeah, and
Yeah.
every guy who plays Santa Claus on some Christmas market is also a bit sketchy for me. But that's just a child thing, because I have horrifying memories about just being forced on one of those guys. Just sit there, little Yuri. Just sit there and smile for the camera. I was crying like hell. So
I mean,
that's
yeah.
just a scar from memory from my childhood. But clowns are just instinctively wrong.
Yeah, but no,
Full stop.
the thing is, everyone asks me, "Oh, so you're afraid of clowns? Is it because of Pennywise?" And I'm like, no, it is not because of Pennywise that I'm afraid of clowns. The reason why I'm afraid of clowns is a lot more embarrassing. It's
Oh my, do tell.
It was hold on. A telemarketer keeps trying to call me, and it's stupid. But no, the reason why I'm afraid of clowns is I'm a Yuri. Little known fact to anyone who doesn't know me. I'm a huge fan of Scooby-Doo.
Mm-hmm.
So I've watched every series. And in the original cartoon, way back in the 60s, they had an episode called Bedlam in the Big Top where they had a ghost clown that would hypnotize people to go into super dangerous situations. And he had a super creepy voice. That's my childhood scar, and I've been afraid of clowns ever since, because I'm always afraid I'm going to go into a circus and a clown is going to make me do things I don't want to do. And the whole serial killer clown thing last year didn't help. Like, seriously, I was like, where's Mystery Inc. when you need it? Because there's clowns running around everywhere. Like, I hate clowns. Anyway, my media was not about clowns.
Yeah. What was your media?
What? My media was I saw the best anime in the world.
Oh, do tell.
It's a 6-episode anime on Netflix. Called Neo Yokio.
That one.
Oh my god.
Mm-hmm.
This is the best anime ever. In the way of, I don't know what it is. Like, it is if you give an abridged series creator the budget to make their own anime. That is what it is, and it is beautiful. The voice acting, I don't want to spoil stuff because it has to be experienced. However, I do have some in-verbatim lines that they say in the show. Most of them revolving around Toblerones, being like, I'll get her a giant Toblerone.
The crowbar of candies.
I mean,
yeah, and
just look at it. With a giant robot.
Yeah, Jude Law voices the giant robot. Then you got Will Smith's son voicing the main character. You got Susan Sarandon voicing the aunt. You got Steve Buscemi at the end of the show. fighting demons. It's great. It is amazing. There's a line that says, "I saw a Toblerone in danger in my dreams. That Toblerone was you." Toblerone is a running thing in this series, and I don't know if they sponsored the show or not. You have characters that feel like they got ripped out of the Boondocks. You got characters that feel like they got ripped out of JoJo. It just feels weird, and it's like if a 12-year-old man made an anime by just inserting anime characters from other animes that they liked, and it's the best thing I've ever watched.
It's like a smash up.
We watched the first episode on anime night yesterday, and everyone was like, "Fuck you, Key, I hate you so much, but I love this." And it's like, I actually watched through the series twice when I binged watched it one night, because I was fascinated with what I was watching, because it's so, you know that they knew how bad it was, because it's not genuine at all, but it's like, the part of you wants to believe that they thought what they were writing was good, but oh, it's bad. I've never thought I wanted to hear Steve Buscemi say, "Well, at least I brought my vape. That's enough vaping for today." Like, oh, it's so bad, but I love it, and I recommend everyone to watch it, because it is the funniest shit. It's like if drunk college students made an anime being like, "You know what would be cool if we got Dio from JoJo to hang out with Will Smith's son, and Will Smith's son has demon slaying powers." Like, oh, it's great. It's
because
great.
Anime.
Because anime, and it's beautiful, and I think it's a great show to get drunk with your friends with. I need to find a drinking game about Neo Yokio and get one of me and my friends to have a drinking game for it, because
every moment that is cringy,
you'll be drunk, you'll be dead by the first episode. You watched the first episode. There were so many times that people were like, "Why?" when we were watching it, and I was just grinning along, because I was like, I know that feeling of pure naivete of watching this for the first time.
We had many good ones this night.
I really recommend this show, though, because, like, in a
it's on Netflix, right?
way,
Yep.
it's amazing. In a weird meta way, it is legitimately kind of good, because there's actual kind of smart ideas, but they present it in such a stupid way. It's like this perfect mix of bad and good. It's perfect. But yeah, that was my media. So talk about the demon clowns, Max.
Oh yeah, totally. I mean, we already kind of brought it up. Let me. Whose face going? Where do I have to replace now?
Bye, Yuri.
My guest face is evil. Bye, chat. I will
You
not
could
talk for
just
long.
do it with a chat. I will read the chat.
Yeah, I
will read along the chat. Hi, chat. You're not with me now. You're stuck with me.
You're on Yuri Vision.
Yeah, you're on my vision.
I mean, here's the thing. I realized when I was in this movie that I actually have never been in a horror movie in cinema. It just never. I was not like, oh, I don't want.
Is it a horror movie though?
Oh yeah, I would say it is. I
movie.
would say it is. There were tense moments where I was really like, and I'm not only talking about the jump scares. There were very, very few jump scares. The jumps, there were a few. I will not deny it, but most of the time there were moments like when it was built up, when basically for everybody who has giving a small recap. Scary shit is going on, and there's a clown who causes all the scary shit. So this is a spoiler-free recap.
A clown haunting me.
Yeah, and
is it? Did you see the other movies or the other media regarding it?
I didn't read the book, but I saw the miniseries back then with Tim Curry.
Alright, so is it following those, let's say, plot lines, or is it
no.
just new stuff?
No. One major difference to the original one was that the original one was basically starting with adult characters who have flashbacks to their interactions with it as children. and then the plot continues following the adult characters. This movie is completely the kids. It starts with the kids. It tells the adventures of the kids. There is not constant flash jumping back and forward between timelines. No, it's straight played the kids facing off against it, which is already very good. There's a cast from, I don't know, 7 kids or something. Fantastic kid actors. They are all in their early teens, and they are good. They are like good.
Good acting.
Horror movie version of Stand By Me.
Yeah, I mean, not some of them were a little bit wooden, but we don't have the glimpsing into the camera. They felt all natural. They all had personalities. They also
anyone famous? Did you recognize anyone famous?
I don't think so, but the girl who played Debbie, whatever, the girl of the girl. She was also a very great update to the back in the day. All the characters were like very subdued because 80s. They all were very like, but they still went for the same cliches. It still took place in the 80s, but it was a nice modern update. The characters felt more fleshed out, more like you would imagine kids to actually be. Like, they were swearing constantly. They took full advantage of the rating of the movie. The small teenage kids, the entire time, like, fuck, shit, fuck, non-stop. It was amazing. Like, what they back then said about Harry Potter, right? Because all the Harry Potter movies are PG or something, and there's completely clean language on screen. But some of the adult actors talked about it like, oh my god, like all the clean language on screen, and behind the camera the kids were all like foul mouthing all the time. But
like in the book.
And here it was on screen in it. Great kid actors. It was really, some moments were really creepy and tense. You don't had silly werewolf costumes you had back then with the miniseries. They kind of also updated the fears of the kids, because the thing is, it can take the form of your fears. And back in the day, they had a mummy, they had a werewolf. Okay, if you say so. Now they had... I don't want to give all the fears, but the fears felt were a little bit less silly costume and more creepy.
Because of CGI.
Did they still have alien spider at the end?
They didn't face the spider as children, so no.
Okay.
So we have to see how it is going to, if and how it is going to continue. But also the entire encounter was a lot more substantial, because back then, once again, the kid's story was just flashbacks. It was just paving the way for the adult adventures in the miniseries back then. Now it was really like the kids facing... well, against this monster, this supernatural entity, and shit was going down. It was...
So it was completely only the kid side, you say?
Yeah. No jump back and forth in time. It started with...
I mean, I guess that's the best way to go about it, because that book is huge. Yeah. That's one of Steve's biggest books.
It started with the infamous gutter scene. Everybody knows, with the little kid who is running after...
Well, that's the prologue of the book, so...
And... yeah. Well, and ends where the story of the kids ends, to express it as spoiler-free as possible.
It too, Electric Blue, coming next year.
So there will be a sequel.
There will be a sequel, probably. But if you are not completely freaked out, it's a great horror movie. So yeah, it's good horror. There's intense stuff. There's atmosphere. It's not cheesy horror. It's really like creepy horror. If you want this kind of experience, which I understand it's not mainstream, go watch it. I would say was a good movie.
I'll respect it. I'll respect it and recommend people to go see it. I'm just not going to go see it because
Absolutely.
I don't want to cry. I'm not going to cry in a movie theater, but having a legitimately good horror movie that's not all jump scares is such a rare commodity these days. Because the last good horror movie that I saw recently was Get Out. And I saw that in cinema. That was a great thing to experience in cinema.
Yeah, I mean, there are scary moments and shock moments, but they have build up. It's not you walk into a dark room and suddenly there's a hand, you're like, ah, and then it's only your friend.
Every horror movie needs to have a jump scare. There needs to be some payoff for the build up.
But usually it's like one of the kids drops something, and he's picking it up. You hear the scary movie, and then no jump scare, just a hand comes in. You see that there's something wrong with the hand who picks it up. Is like, here is your thing, and the camera then jumps to the face, and the face is fucking scary. But it's not a jump scare; it's a build up. It's people,
it's proper. It's proper build up and payoff.
Yes, indeed. But yeah, that was basically my run on it. So Yuri, what is your medium?
Chat is back on screen.
Yeah, it is.
My chat.
You got a mouse on. You got a mouse on you, Yuri. You gotta swat it away. It's flying around.
That's good. So I have several media topics I can cover. I made notes.
Well,
I can do actually a lightning round. So for my serious choice to go to is Vikings. Great show. Cannot get enough of it. Vikings is pretty great. It's not as gruesome as I thought before, because I'm not usually the guy who want to see body horror and a lot of gore. That's not a thing I enjoy most of the time, even if it is appropriate for the subject matter.
I hope I found the right one.
Yep, that's the correct one. Yeah. So, but it's actually not that bad. It's decent enough. It's put in a historical context, so it's not violence for violence sake. So that's good. And the characters in the show are pretty great. There's a lot of arcs they go through and development of each character. So it's a great show. If you're not had watched it, just watch it. It's great. Cannot recommend it.
This was a lightning round indeed. Yeah, and I just found a picture of more characters. Yeah,
it's historically pretty accurate. Of course, there are freedoms they have to take, but it's close enough to be educational, I would say, a bit, and also having enough freedom to just telling a compelling story, which they do. The first season was a bit stretched in the end, but it had a good payoff and a good cliffhanger, and they are on season 5, I guess, but 4 and 5 are not out yet in Germany, so I cannot watch it because I have no US Netflix or whatever, so it's a shame.
Since I see a girl with wings there, is there a mystical element to it, or is it straight, played straight, non-mystical?
No mystery whatsoever. There are talks about the Christianity and the gods of the Vikings, like Thor and Odin and such, and that it's a lot of the conflict between customs of those particular religions and the similarities between Christianity beliefs in the year AD 800 to 900, something like that, and the Nordic customs. So there's a lot of comparison between those two things. So there's a lot of talk about how the Northmen, the Vikings, transitioned away from the old Nordic gods to Christianity. So the first steps, so the first people which converted actually to Christianity just by making diplomatic choices. Hey, we have to pretend to believe now we are Christians, and suddenly the religion spread out into Scandinavia. So that's also pretty interesting. Yeah, that was for my media with series. Music, 2 cellos.
Ooh, good.
I love 2 cellos.
2 cellos are amazing. I found them at random in one of those insomnia nights where I tried to get to sleep, and I actually copy-pasted the theme music from Vikings into YouTube, and through snowballing, through all the related videos, I found 2 cellos, and I actually see them live. 2nd of December in Berlin.
I am jealous of you, and I love that was the first 2 cellos video. I think that's a lot of people's first 2 cellos thing is their cover of Thunderstruck.
Yeah.
And I mean, I love their, and it's because like their Thunderstruck one is probably the most impressive because like most of their stuff is done with electric cellos, so it's like they can get a certain sound. Those are actual fucking cellos, and the bows fraying and stuff. It's like, I love 2 cellos so damn much. The other one that I think is something that competes with it is their Highway to Hell cover, which is
that's
pretty great as well.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So
They actually made Voodoo People from Prodigy. That's just insane. And also, when you are looking up the videos, they have a very expensive YouTube library, which is completely free. Just go there or sub to their channel. It's amazing. You can get all this amazing live stuff. One of the most impressive stuff is happening in the Tokyo concert hall, because, like Keyframe said, in those videos, they're using the actual normal cellos, not the E-type cellos, where you could think, yeah, that's probably just because they're using E-cellos. No, not at all. They can do this stuff on normal, regular wooden instruments as well, which is mind-blowing.
Also, I made some fun note about them that they're a little bit like Lindsay Sterling in the regards that they take a classical instrument and do cover stuff. But I was like, 2 cellos. They are basically like Lindsay Sterling, just with cellos instead of violin and less dancing around. Well, on one of their concerts, the guy has some kind of apparatus, puts his cello in it, and dances around the stage like Highway to Hell, jong, 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 on the cello.
You know what? 2 cellos is the fusion of Lindsay Sterling, and that one time Jesse Cox was talking about him doing didgeridoo dubstep. It's just mixed together. Didgeridoo plus violin equals cello, apparently. But just a recommendation, I guess, to Yuri and this guy down here. If you like instrumental covers and good things, there's a group that I follow called Lucky Chops, and it's a brass band. So you got trombone, bari sax, euphonium, and a drum kit. And they are like those type of people you see play at Union Station and like, street performers, but they're fucking amazing. Their videos that I would actually recommend as a great showing of their skill is that they did a cover of Problem by Ariana Grande that actually sounds good. And I don't like that song, but I like the cover. They did a cover of Helter Skelter by the Beatles, which was... And they also have some original stuff that they've been doing, and their most recent music video is all done in 8-bit, and their music is just so good. There's so much sound. I listen to it while I work out because it just has that oomph, but it's like it's like a classic oomph. Like you just get a pep in your step when you listen to it, and it's if you got Lindsay Sterling and 2 cellos for string instruments, Lucky Chops is the best thing for instruments that you got to blow into.
Nice. We'll check that out later. Yeah, but like Keyframe said, they also covered Michael Jackson songs, and I'm not a fan of Michael Jackson songs, but suddenly those songs are fun to listen to because you feel like, all right, this song is actually pretty good because it's interpreted in a different way. It's still recognizable, but it's amazing. They made one song, 2 cellos, which is Mombasa from Hans Zimmer from the Inception soundtrack. This I just listened to while I'm playing Titanfall 2. Whoever plays Titanfall 2 knows what I mean. This game is so fast and so frantic, but the music keeps me focused on the game actually because it gets me in the same mood, and it's amazing. It's really, really good. So that was for my music choice. Now let's talk about the movie I have seen and I would like to recommend to everyone. Specifically because of the subject matter, it's Invictus. It's with Matt Damon and Morgan Freeman. Morgan Freeman plays the role of Nelson Mandela. So this movie is pretty strong simply because of the subject matter. I'm not usually into sports movies, but this is basically a sports movie attached to the subject matter of Nelson Mandela becomes president of South Africa in the time where the whole country is basically split apart. Racism and governmental suppression is overcome, and now Nelson Mandela is in the position of power, and he has to unite actually the people of this very deep divided country between the white minority and the black people. And he does that by just empowering the rugby team of South Africa. The whole movie is around this subject matter, and it's pretty well acted. It takes a very subtle approach to the topic because sometimes sports movies can be overblown, like you all remember on every goddamn Sunday, was it, with Al Pacino? That's the classical football sports movie you see, right?
Or every baseball movie ever made.
Right. So you have always the same plot arc of the failure, the rising tension, the training montage, then the next big game in the middle, and so on and so forth.
Don't forget the love side story.
There is no love side story in this movie because it's made by Clint Eastwood. That's the reason why it's very subtle, very reduced, and just interesting to watch because of subject matter. You learn something. In the end, it has a happy ending, like every sports movie, I can tell that. Obviously, it's based on a true story, so yeah. Good movie, just watch it. It's on Amazon Prime in Germany for free, so if you're already a Amazon Prime customer, just grab it. It's just 2 hours of pretty entertaining stuff. So, and the last thing I want to recommend is my media for games, Dead Cell. Play it, get it now. It's still in early access, but get it now. It's so amazing. It's a roguelike, which is, so many people already talked about it. It's a 2D sprite art, pretty impressive sprite art. It's fast, it has a progression system which persists even if you are dying. The world is randomly generated. It's a 2D brawler, basically, and a dungeon crawler as well. So you pick up items, you level your equipment, and when you die, you're starting all over again, but your progression stays. So you can just make, with every run, you can make a little bit progress, which I like more than the usual roguelike, where you just die and that's it, and you start all over again, like you would have with the Binding of Isaac. Those games I do not enjoy because every time when you die, you're just scrap. You're just starting at zero. This I do not like because it doesn't respect my time. I know people are sometimes into that kind of stuff, but Dead Cell makes this nice compromise. You still have something you work towards to, and then you just, when you're dying, you repeat, and it's great. It plays good. It's cheap. So
yeah, while you're getting 2D games, you should also get Cuphead because it finally got released on Steam and it's really good. And people support a game that these people remortgaged their houses so they could make this game. They quit their jobs to make it because, well, I think this has been a game that's been in production since 2013 because this is all
like forever.
Yeah, this has been like, and you can tell it because it's all. It looks like a Betty Boop era cartoon. And it's so good and I love it and it has local co-op, but I wish it had online co-op, but I'm not going to complain because it's still really good. And you should get it and get the deluxe version that comes with the soundtrack because the music in the game is also just beautiful.
It's also the hot shit right now to watch on stream. So if you just want to check it out, you should. If you are around in the internet and you are concerned with gaming in any way, you should know by now about Cuphead. It's amazing. It was on every convention I have seen in the last years, and it was postponed for release every time. And now it's finally out, and it's amazingly good.
Jesse Cox is playing it as well. I guess I can put.
Everyone is streaming it right now, so just watch on Twitch some streamer. Just check it out. It's amazing. It was worth waiting for, I would say. So I will get it probably next week, and we'll see if I like it.
It's been a shtick, hasn't it? And I guess it started with just the inspiration of Cuphead. A lot of games taking from the whole shtick of like the 1920s, 1930s, because bendy is the big thing too, and everything.
Yeah.
But even so, if you guys said that Cuphead has been in production for so long, if anything, Bendy jumped on the bandwagon and not the other way around.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying it's jumping on the bandwagon, and now it's hitting its apex with its inspiration finally coming out.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, but since Yuri was allowed to do multiple, and you as well, I got another one which I got introduced to this way in the music genre.
Okay.
So let me place. There we have one. I have two of those windows actually. Postmodern jukebox, and they do also in the 20s and 30s and 60s and whatnot style, so in retro style, they do covers, like for example, Stacy's Mom.
It's not electro swing, right?
A little bit, but you see they play on classical instruments, so the electro part is missing. But they do a lot of swingy stuff, so...
I'm all about electro swing. It's one of my favorite genres to listen to right now.
I love electro swing.
It's amazing.
But yeah, Stacy's Mom in...
Didn't they also do a cover of Clint Eastwood?
They did a lot. Yeah, they're not sure if they did Clint Eastwood, but they did Feel Good Incorporation. So they do everything in those covers. It's pretty amazing. So
nice.
Postmodern Jukebox, obviously, in the description down below.
Hooray!
Very cool.
So, I guess we go to Q&A time?
We go to Q&A time. Should we really be so cruel and go with our own questions?
Wait, let's go with our own questions, because we didn't do them. We came up with them at the end of the stream the last week. So.
Yeah, but
we got a guest, so we can have even more ideas.
Did you actually think about those questions?
Yes, I did.
Oh, because I didn't. Hopefully Yuri has a spontaneous great idea for them.
Well, okay, so we're going to go with the easy one first, and then we'll go with the slightly harder one. Keyframe, sounds like a cool person, asked, what canceled show should have gotten another season? Or some kind of continuation?
Since you thought about it, you can answer first, then Yuri, and hopefully I came up with something.
That's such an easy one.
I have a three-way tie for me about three shows that should have gotten another season. Dan Versus.
Good one.
I marathoned all of Dan Versus this weekend while I was working on this thing, because I needed something cynical for something that's so like calm and serene, and that's my emotions right now, because there was no reason for it to not get another season.
There were so much hints.
It was at the height of its comedy, and it could only go higher. And when I mean the height, I just mean like there was so much more potential, because they had an obvious increase in their animation budget in the last season, and like they also went for a lot more out there things, and it worked with the series. Like it didn't feel like they were jumping the shark. Because in season 3, they had like the common cold that was actually like some kind of secret agent virus that was going to kill Dan. And it was like, this is amazing. Why?
And they started to establish a little bit of a meta plot. Because I saw there were... did you see it in your binge watch as well? They started to kind of hint that there's something going on with... What's the girl's name?
Elise.
With Elise's backstory and Dan's backstory, and I saw there's some overlaps, and I'm like, wait, are they hinting that those two are related?
I like to think, I would have loved if they did another season, and the last episode of the show was Dan versus the creator, and it's him fighting against the people who make the show. First of all, that would have been the best ending for a show ever.
Or even better, if the show comes back and the first episode is Dan versus cancellation.
See, the thing is, it's like the show is here's a running theme in the three shows that I'm picking is the fact that these shows could easily be brought back. There's no reason why they couldn't, and especially in the era of Netflix and Toonami, it could all be returned.
Yeah.
Second choice is an anime, Panty and Stocking with Garter Belt, because it only got 1 season of 13 episodes, and it needed more, and I'm fucking pissed at Studio Gainax, because, let me just tell you a great story. November of last year, and this is right off the heels of Young Justice being announced to return on Netflix for season 3. Studio Gainax West, so the West Coast division, announced that we're going to have something panty and stocking related coming out very soon. And everyone was like, unless it's a Blu-ray release of the first season or season 2, we are going to riot in the streets. It wasn't either. They're opening up a panty and stocking cafe in Japan. Why do you announce this on
tread careful, and then you will lose
Hemisphere's Twitter?
Where is the difference between a penny and stockings cafe in Japan and every other maid cafe in Japan?
I don't know. Maybe they just have repent motherfucker everywhere. Maybe that's the name. I don't know. Maybe you get maybe your sushi gets wrapped up in a pair of panties instead of rice. I don't know.
Would not surprise me at all.
But that show is so good, and I want it back. And it would be the perfect show to be on Adult Swim, especially since Space Dandy is over. And Space Dandy had that colorful, fun aspect, and now you can bring back some kind of ridiculousness. But my third show, the third show, which I think was the most unfairly canceled thing ever, Clone High. Clone High needs to be brought back. And it's the easiest show to bring back.
This I do not know.
What? Well, okay, Clone High was a show that was on MTV in the early 2000s that was made by the creators of the Lego Movie and the Lego Batman movie, Phil Lord and Chris Miller.
It looks weird, but that's maybe on purpose.
It is a very weird show. The show is basically, the plot, for people who don't know, is the military took the DNA from a bunch of famous people. So Joan of Arc, Cleopatra, Abraham Lincoln, JFK, Gandhi.
This I heard about, now I recall it, yeah. I never have seen it, but I know yeah.
Yeah, but they ended the first season by freezing all of them inside of a meat locker, so everyone is basically cryogenically frozen. This is the best setup for season 2, especially since they had the whole meta thing of they've been off the air for 14 years. They could unmelt all these people, and they go back to the high school, and you have a whole new batch of teen clones who are familiar with modern technology, unlike these people who are stuck in the 2000s real-world MTV genre. And they reveled in the whole, we are in the 2000s. They were fans of O-Town and all this stuff. They had all these they had John Green from Freddie Got Fingered as one of the guest stars, and Jack Black in his Tenacious D era in this kind of thing.
Yeah.
And now you have the 2010s, and it could mix so well of these two clashing generations put together, and you could have so many new clones of people. You could legitimately probably have a Michael Jackson clone that is a kid, and if you put it on Netflix or something, you can go totally un-PC, which the show borderline was. So now you can actually go without any network censors, because the show originally aired on. That's actually
huge.
Because the show aired on MTV in the early 2000s during the time of Beavis and Butthead being a thing and Real World and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So it was already edging on the pushing the envelope thing back when MTV used to be that. And then it got canceled for the most PC reasons because people were nettled with how Gandhi was portrayed. To which I respond, Jesus Christ was a Mexican carpenter in the show who was friends with Julius Caesar. It's kind of if we are not getting offended, you really shouldn't get offended.
But yeah.
But I would love for this show to be brought back. And it's one of the easiest ones. And even the creators want to bring it back. They've said in multiple interviews that the reason why they make these movies and stuff is that our goal in life is to bring Clone High back.
That's a nice one. But yeah, Yuri.
Yeah.
What should have gotten one or two more seasons?
Darkwing Duck, obviously.
Good.
It's probably going to be brought back. So.
Yeah, I hope so. But another question is, I'm always concerned about getting so far back to especially shows from your childhood because you have a very nostalgia lens on it. And when it's coming back, I mean, Alf was a thing and it was cut out because the inventor of Alf, you remember this cat-eating dude?
Yeah.
This brown furry one. He just bailed out. He just said, you know what, this is amazing, but I cannot deal with this production thingy anymore. And everyone in show business is basically a douchebag. And he took all the money from Alf he made and just made something exit project. I have no clue. Look it up. It's actually pretty interesting how this show ended. Darkwing Duck is the obvious one. Firefly is another one. I mean, we have Serenity, which was kind of an excuse, but still Firefly was amazing. So I'm very sad it ended like it did. That's my two answers. And always be careful what you wish for, because most of the remakes we have or the recontinuation of a thing are actually worse than the stuff you remember.
DuckTales reboot is pretty amazing so far, and this will probably...
Tumblr thinks otherwise, so far as I'm told.
You listen to Martin at work, and Martin at work has no fucking clue what he's talking about. Martin
like Tumblr does.
Yeah, Martin is just repeating what he read on Reddit without making his own opinion. No, but in the new DuckTales...
He's wonderful. It's wonderful. Everything what he says about the internet and the opinion he grabs from the internet is basically the complete opposite what I would think. So I have a very, very good grounding in just disagreeing with him without even knowing what he's talking about. It's great.
Yeah, in case you're watching, hi Martin.
Hi.
Anyways, a different... No, but with the DuckTales, there are rumors that Darkwing Duck might appear in it, which might
There's
lead
no...
to his
It's
return.
not a rumor. It's not a rumor. They
I
have
want to
actual
believe it is.
production.
I want to believe that it is a rumor, therefore I can pretend it's not a spoiler.
I mean, I love Darkwing Duck. I think it was the best show in this universe, hands down.
It was pretty amazing because it had, on the one hand, a serious tone, but it still had the chill goofiness of Disney. So
And it was portraying
Yeah.
Batman,
Yeah.
which is basically the best thing ever. Just mocking Batman in any conceivable way is always a good thing. So
and the character of Darkwing Duck himself was amazingly flawed and still super competent. He was a legit superhero. He was able to go toe on toe. He was able to be beaten up by this Agent Grizzly guy who couldn't stand his gut, but was a good guy as well. And he beat him up as much as he could. Darkwing could take it.
I wonder who they may get to play the daughter, since the voice actress for the daughter is dead.
Oh, Gaslin died.
Yeah, the Christine Cavadini. She was also the voice of the original Dexter in Dexter's Lab. She passed away like 3 years ago.
Oh my.
Of like cancer or something. So.
But yeah, my shows. A very similar one to Firefly in regards to it actually got its final conclusion thingy was the series Farscape, which
Whoa.
Farscape is what I like to call the best and the worst sci-fi show I know. It really depends on the episode you pick. Some of
that's
the
a hard.
episodes,
That's a hard pitch.
some of the episodes are as fucking bullshit as it gets. Like super cheap production, repeated motions, plot holes the size of entire galaxies. But
Is it an animated show or live action?
It's real. So real people.
Yeah,
so.
but with aliens from Jim Henson's puppet studio, so really good looking aliens. But some episodes have been like real psycho stuff going on there with real amazing, like whoa, mindfuck moments. Absolutely brilliant. The Crackers episode. There's an episode where they all go paranoid and start killing each other over crackers, or try to kill each other, while still realizing that they go paranoid and insane. It's an amazing balance between going... They do this kind of stuff all the time with twists and nice twist. But once again, they are not capable of keeping a plotline going through multiple episodes. They screw it up amazingly. Like a character dies very obviously on screen, and in the next episode he's just walking again. Like, what? Okay, he is supposed to be super strong, but come on, we saw him die the last episode. Like, he was like, then the camera cut out, and the next episode he's like, now I'm really angry. Like, what? What the hell?
Did you saw the spin-off?
A spin-off of Farscape? No.
Yeah, the Peacekeeper.
No, I didn't. So,
it's really bad.
Was this a TV movie? No, I believe it wasn't. There was a...
No, it was a show, but it was really bad. Don't bother.
Oh, okay.
I was just checking in.
No,
because I found both shows disgustingly bad, but your opinion, you're entitled to.
But what Farscape ended on was like the super cliffhanger, like the main protagonist getting blown up into pieces, but not blown up, but it turned into crystals, and those got shattered and stuff. And it's like, whoa, super cliffhanger. And then the show got cancelled. But they got back there a little bit like with Firefly and got a TV special, like with 2 1.5 hour thingies. But what they did there, and Firefly did a so much better job with Serenity. Serenity still works as its own movie. Sure, you can enjoy it a lot more if you know the characters and whatnot, if it is for you a conclusion to the show. So much better, absolutely.
We get back to that regarding Serenity. Please continue.
Yeah, but with Farscape, the problem was they took all the remaining ideas they had for 1 or maybe 2 remaining seasons and crammed them all into those specials. So they introduced an entire additional race to blow them up. Like,
that's a problem.
You could have skipped this. It felt rushed. It didn't give you any investment, and it was like, oh, look here, the new race, and boom, now they are gone. Like, what, where? This was completely nonsensical to do, and the ending itself was like a cheese fest without ending. So it was still a conclusion, and maybe better than the cliffhanger they left on. But it felt like, okay, we crammed all the ideas we have in this. No matter what, we kill this character, we introduce this character, and okay, done.
That's actually how they solved the X-Files.
Oh.
If anybody remembers this shit show, how the X-Files ended, that's actually the same thing what they did.
Okay, and I believe I had another... Oh, then of course Invader Zim. What?
Sorry, come again?
We are going to get a movie.
Oh, okay. Then maybe the Invader Zim thing is solved. But Invader Zim, which is... You don't know Invader Zim?
Cannot recall right now, but that's usually how my mind works.
Invader Zim was a late 90s.
He will be able when he sees it.
Yeah, it was one of Nickelodeon's darkest shows.
Here, you see? Yuri?
It's Hot Topic's favorite show.
Never saw this.
Huh.
Oh, you need to fix that. But
Nerdcreds. I will look it up. Is it somewhere to watch?
It's probably on Watch Cartoons Online.
All right.
It's not a.
I will find it.
It's not a hard to find show, but.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Speaking of Nick shows, just saying, little honorable mention. Danny Phantom needed another season because their finale was shit. Because season 3 was such a shit show, and they opened up plot lines that they never concluded. I want a good resolution for Valerie so badly, and Danielle and stuff, and it's like, why? It's because one of the writers left, and they wanted to. It makes me even more angry because I hear all the things they wanted to do with season 3, because they wanted to actually go to the backstories of how the villains died, of when they were real people. And I'm like, that would be so cool. And maybe a season so we can actually see how the dynamic changes in the family, given the fact that they found out Danny is the ghost boy they tried to kill for 3 seasons. Like, God, I hated how they ended Danny Phantom.
So, one point I want to come back to, because, like we said, Firefly had this conclusion. Serenity is not a good movie. Just putting this out there. It's not a good movie.
It gave you the conclusion for the show, because the show ended very open, and there you have something that feels at least like an ending.
but still, it was a very, actually, I mean, it was amazingly entertaining and it strung all the ties together, but the movie itself was pretty bad, actually. If you watch it again, just try to disconnect yourself from Firefly.
I believe
on its own, it's a pretty bad movie.
I watched it before Firefly.
Oh, you did?
Oh, I did, yeah, and it was missing.
And you still
something.
enjoyed it?
It was missing something, that's true, but but then I went back, marathon Firefly, and then watching the movie was giving you a very good feeling, like making the entire experience whole, because you had some...
In unison, this movie is okay. It gets the point across. That's not what I'm saying. As a tool to conclude the show, it was decent. But the movie itself, not that good. By the way, a lot of movies from that time, which are praised by... it's the Half-Life 2 effect, right? Play Half-Life 2 these days. Just play it without the whole nostalgia attached to the Half-Life Valve thingy. Hey, Half-Life 3 is coming and is confirmed and all that. It's in context. It's working and it's amazing because it tells the story. Hey, the series was great and everyone loved it, but it was cancelled and now they're making this movie. The story works. The emotional attachment to the whole project and the fan base is working. Without all of that, it's not that great. The same for Half-Life 2. Play Half-Life 2 these days, disconnect all the stuff which revolves around Half-Life 2. Half-Life 2 is not that great. It's actually has a lot of pacing problems, the movie as well. And that brings me to the conclusion. When you have a series just cut off, everything is open, and you try to cram every solution in one thing, it's very hard to do. And actually, for my opinion, was never achieved so far. Just putting that out there.
I guess the closest thing I would say to something that does that where it got cut off and they're trying to make an end to the story was the last season of Samurai Jack. And even then I think it should have gotten more episodes. Before them only having 5 or 10 episodes, they did a pretty okay job. But I guess now we can go to the opposite of this question, which was asked by some loser named N-Y-E.
Silly name. I don't... Those names nobody can pronounce are always silly. I don't know why people do this.
Yeah, no idea either. They think they're being clever, but they're just out of their ass. What initially great TV show should have been canceled 1 or more seasons earlier?
Supernatural! Supernatural!
Parentheses, except The Simpsons. Yuri, yours is Supernatural?
I had this feeling.
And I still watch it because I cannot stop. It's sunken fallacy costs February. I put so much time in this fucking shit show of those two brothers, which can get not over themselves, and still making this whole circle about you're bad. No, you're bad. I'm evil because I need to, and continuously just this. And the CGI gets bad, and it's so dead, but it still runs. I do not know why.
I've been watching
people like you watch it.
I've been watching Supernatural, so I know what you mean, but I've been only watching Supernatural because next year they're doing a crossover special with Scooby-Doo. And I want to understand what they're crossing over with.
You are so trash.
And I'm like, no, well,
you
the
are
thing is...
Scooby-Doo trash.
I am, well, I'm not going to deny that trash, but I'm just saying... The Supernatural doesn't really have room to talk either for its degradation and the fact that they're at that point where they are crossing over with a 40-year-old franchise. Like, was that your only one, Yuri?
Family Guy is mentioned by the chat. That's actually also a good one. Family Guy is pretty dead as well for me, content-wise, because it's American Dad is better. Let's face it.
It is. American Dad is so.
It has the more interesting subject matter, the more likable characters, and
better music.
Family Guy is just the copycat of Simpsons, and Simpsons is dead as well. So,
but it was excluded, yeah. But I never got into Family Guy enough to actually make the claim it should have been ended earlier, because I never watched it enough to be like, oh, this needed to end. Also,
the internet lost his shit about the dog dying, and the dog was actually the only character I liked to watch. The interaction between Stewie and the dog. Stewie just works with the connection of how was the dog called again? Brian. So those synergy between those both characters was great. And that was the only reason why I kept watching this show, because the side stories they made up for those two guys, that was amazing.
Especially all the Road 2 episodes, like all the Road 2. The thing, like, Family Guy, I kind of put Family Guy in with the bundle of, like, SpongeBob and other shows where the creator wanted it to end, but the network wouldn't let it die.
That's true, actually, yeah.
Because Seth MacFarlane has said, like, numerous times, I don't want Family Guy to run on anymore. I'm done. There's nothing more I want to do with the show. He wants to focus on American Dad and making movies, but Fox has some kind of devil contract that they have to keep making it. And that's why all the show episodes suck even more now, because he's like, there has to be a point where the show gets so bad that it gets canceled.
Point in this case, Bleach. Bleach had the same fucking problem. Bleach went on and on and on, and nobody in the creative team of Bleach was caring about this anymore. Everyone wanted to stop.
But this is a chronological problem with shonen anime. That they are built to go on infinitely, even though there is usually always power creep and whatnot.
Yeah, but that's the problem, though. When you are reaching your end as a creative mind behind the show, you should let it die, because the fans will feel it.
Yeah.
And especially with Bleach, just try to read the manga from the first time, from the first issues and the last, and compare. Just the effort which was put into it's blindingly obvious that everyone who's involved with this product as a product is not caring anymore. And that's so sad, because when you have a great universe and you just letting it die by time slowly and just corroding and breaking up because nobody is putting any love into it anymore, that's really sad. So
yeah, I mean, but how many shonen anime actually managed to get the cutting point? I mean, Naruto went on for so long, but eventually they cut it off just to start a new series.
Which is bad, apparently.
I have checked it out. I wasn't even able to stick around to the end of Naruto because, I don't know, I actually followed Shippuden when it started, but it was like subtitled and on a weekly basis, and the British Ninja entered the chat, and I just went out of touch with it, so no hard feelings about it. But hey, they managed to get it to a conclusion. But I was shocked to hear recently that One Piece is still going on. I mean, I kind of expected them to be done, because Fairy Tail is basically One Piece, but with new characters and with magic instead of gum fruits or devil's fruits. It's basically the same concept. Everybody has their.
Are you sure about this statement? That's a very bold statement to make.
It has the same animations, so it comes from the same people. The characters have a very similar set of characteristics. It's the same art style, so I assume the same people, creative people, are behind it. And it basically has the same thing. They have, instead of driving around on a ship, so the entire pirate theme is dropped, obviously. But they replaced all the devil fruit superpowers with magic, and everybody has their specialty in magic. So this one person is a fire guy, this other person is a super tough sword summoner, the third person is an ice guy.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, and they put them in an easy to navigate way in the world, so it's an open world and they can go everywhere, and they're not limited to where the compass direct them, and they don't have the big goal of a One Piece to find. They just have their seasonal arcs, like, okay, this time here's a big bad guy, here we solve the background story of this character, and so on. But I was like, okay, there is Fairy Tail, which is basically next iteration of the One Piece idea, but One Piece is still going, so who is writing what here?
I don't know, like, is the manga still going?
Yes,
So are they basically...
The manga is still going. It already has like 4-digit chapters as far as I know. It's still going. They already had a time skip. They have power creep without end. I don't know why. And this is a shonen thing. But apparently, I don't know if they are already this creatively bankrupt as Bleach was. Since I'm not following it, I don't know. Somebody who is still up to date with One Piece. Did it suffer from the creative sellout, or are they actually still with fun, doing it with fun and energy? I don't know. Anyways, more shows.
One Piece was always a special case because One Piece was basically filled with filler episodes over and over and over
but
again.
Even if we talk about the manga, let's just focus on the manga and not on the things, and it's still going. And I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, filler in TV shows is a thing since Dragon Ball.
Yeah. My choice of a show that should have gotten canceled or season. It's a very classic one. The Real Ghostbusters from the 80s. I will say that show is the best 2 seasons of anything that Deke Entertainment has ever made. And then season 3 happened. And keep in mind, this show went on for 6 seasons.
Such long?
What happened was is that, because The Real Ghostbusters is on Netflix, at least in America, so I've been watching it a lot, because this was a childhood show. I got a lot of hand-me-down shows. I watched a lot of classic cartoons and TV, because that's all we had, and The Real Ghostbusters was one of them. I have a very strong attachment to that, because that's how I got introduced to Ghostbusters in the first place. I didn't see the movie first. I thought it was specifically a cartoon, and then my parents told me, no, it's actually a movie. So I care about this a lot, and I watched the Extreme Ghostbusters too, and to me that's a better continuation than what the fuck season 3 onward was. And it's interesting because the first 2 seasons are widely regarded as just great TV, great episodic Monster of the Week show, perfect examples.
Yeah.
But then they brought in a person to make the show more marketable, even though it was at the height of ratings. It wasn't degrading at all. They were just like, the whole, like, it's the prime example of executive meddling. The executives at Deke were like, we're going to make this even more marketable. They brought someone in. They didn't do any focus group testing. They didn't do any audience checking. They didn't do anything. They just thought, this is what we think that people will want. And that's when Slimer and the Real Ghostbusters happened. That's when they replaced the voice actors for Janine with the voice of Lil and Phil from Rugrats, and made her design made her design softer, and because apparently they even like rounded out her glasses because they were like, oh, her glasses are scary to kids. It's like
too edgy, literally.
Too edgy, and they softened down her design. They replaced the voice actor for Venkman, because his original actor was Lorenzo Music, who is widely known as the voice of Garfield. And they replaced that with Dave Coulier, who is Joey from Full House. I'm going to be fair. He didn't do a bad job because he sounded more like the actual Bill Murray. But when you have 2 seasons of setup and Garfield already sounds kind of like Bill Murray, it was a whole clusterfuck of stuff that didn't make sense, because like, they were wishy-washy of they want to represent the films, but yet they don't. Because the whole point of why all the characters look different than their movie counterparts was the fact that when they designed the characters, they were told not to look like the movie characters. Because they wanted it to be separated. That's why Egon is like this bleach blonde character. And this fat and everything. Like, so why make the character sound more like the character? The only one who should sound like their movie counterpart is Egon, because that was the point. It's just, and then they made Slimer part of it, and then the budget went down and everything, and it's like, it's the most frustrating thing, because it's like, they had a legit good show with pretty good animation for the 80s of cartoons, which was widely known as the dark age of TV animation, because this was before Animaniacs came into the frame, before Spielberg cartoons came into the mix. And like, they had actual legit dark and cool character designs for monsters. There was actual love and care put into it. And then it became this corporate shell And it's like, I would have rather it ended with 2 seasons of just really good programming than it's slowly dying and becoming just another Saturday morning toy cartoon.
Right.
Yeah.
Just to sell merch, basically. Because that's what in the end matters. If a creative sense behind such a product dies, it becomes a tool to sell merch, basically.
But yeah, our local Vibo, by the way, chimed in and was like, aka British Ninja, and was like, he's first of all up to date with One Piece.
Yeah, I saw that as well. He slammed you on the comparison between Fairy Tail and...
Yeah, and he is like still going strong, and he apparently disagrees with my parallels I draw between Fairy Tail and One Piece.
I'm not close enough to Fairy Tail to challenge you on that opinion, but I had the same feeling. I was like, are you sure about that statement?
I watched the first 2 seasons of Fairy Tail and I was like, okay, very similar character designs. You have the head.
But the first 2 seasons of an anime show are nothing, dude. Nothing.
Fair enough, I guess. But yeah, my shows that should have been cancelled earlier. Let's make this quick. I mean, I guess now it's a moment of shame. I will admit that in the beginning I found True Blood a good and interesting show. However, it jumped the shark so bad. A few seasons now, it jumped
real bad.
I believe me and my back then girlfriend, we really liked watching it. Like for the first 2 seasons it was like, oh yeah, new episode. Then it was kind of like out of habit and we were already like, oh god, ooh, this was bad. And then it jumped the shark so hard when all the vampires come out of a truck in tight leather suits, like walking in a line, pull out a rocket launcher, shoot a bar.
Did you ever play you never played the pen and paper White Wolf vampires, right?
No,
did
I
you
only played
what about this role-playing game everyone likes, Vampire the Masquerade?
I didn't actively play it, but I looked into it, yeah.
So that's one of the things which is infamous in the role-playing RPG area tabletop pen and paper thingy from the 90s, when vampires and real vampire LARPing was taking over everything. D&D was the game of old and everyone was jumping to the vampire thing. And there's actually the same problem. You have vampires which speak in a very high accent and very poetic, and suddenly someone drives a tank through the night because there's a skill for it. There are skills for rocket launcher. There's skills for automatic weapons. And this is such a clash of themes that everyone was like, this game is shit.
But it was not a clash. The problem is True Blood plays in modern times, and some of the vampires are very old, but they're all adjusted to modern times. But they never felt the need to go underworld and put on tight leather suits, walk in a line, and use a rocket launcher. They had supernatural powers the entire time. And especially the outfit, it was just so like, what the fuck? It just was so silly.
I remember when this happened. It's like when I was in school, True Blood was playing, and my friend and my schoolmates, let's just put it like that, they loved it, and they were like, "Chrissy, you should watch this." And I'm like, I don't like your garbage. But they were like, "Please," and I'm like, "Fine, social interaction, whatever." And we watched it, and it was okay. And then that happened, and they were like, "Wasn't that cool? Oh my god, they're so hot!" And I'm like, my generation is a dying breed, and I wish it could be euthanized faster.
Yeah, vampires especially are a thing I was never really interested to begin with. Vampire, the original Bram Stoker one is just a thing. It's just a monster, which is in my cultural background of geek culture. But what the closest thing I ever watched to vampires on a regular basis was Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Ooh, which was basically a high school sitcom with a little bit of darker tones sometimes, but that was it. It was just friends, but slaying vampires in the night.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Well, what else? Another one where probably people will disagree with me, but oh no, wait. There was one. There was one I was like, oh no. Actually, I believe here people will agree with me. No, they might disagree with me on the part that it was a good series to begin with. Heroes. Mm-hmm. The first season.
No, Heroes was never good. Heroes was never good.
This was what I was thinking.
I watched Smallville.
But the first season of Heroes, they had kind of an interesting thing going on there, with an arc that kind of build up to the finale and whatnot, and you had the feeling there was a goal and there was consistency, and it was still, at least me and my friends, we are fascinated by the concept of this new approach to superpowers. But with every progressing season, the second season was already like, wow, this is shit, and the third season was unwatchable, and I believe I made it only like a handful of episodes in before I was like, no. So yeah, Heroes. And one that I find on many lists which irritates me is Dexter. I mean, yes, I'm a Dexter fanboy, but and there have been weaker seasons in between, but especially the second to last, I believe, the one where he's going up against this killer from a mafia, I thought was one of the better ones, and it was later on. So why call for an earlier cancellation? I do not agree with this general opinion on the internet. I mean,
because it was not cancelled. It was just ended.
It ended. Yeah. Well, the question was a show that should have ended earlier. So maybe cut out one of the middle seasons instead. But
you can pick apart pretty much every show for that reason. I mean, take Scrubs. Scrubs is a show which I watched so much because, just like you said, out of habit. And when they hit the 7 or 8 season, I was still watching it and realized, all right, now they're making fun of themselves because they're not funny anymore. And yeah, they're actually right. And the first time I realized, since 3 seasons, I do not enjoy this show anymore because it was just a habit, right? It was just, hey, I know these characters, I know the plot. Always when characters stop to progressing their arc, there's no progression anymore, shows start to falling apart, I tend to find.
Yeah, I ventably agree with Scrubs, because I love Scrubs.
Yeah.
Oh, God. When they were done with their arcs, they just kept going, because, like, Turk had his whole thing, he had a kid, got married, JD and blonde girl got together, the Dr. Cox got, worked out stuff with his wife, and everyone had their things all squared away and done, and it was like, why did... Personally, I think the show should have ended with their musical episode, and then you were...
Basically. Dr. House is another case we could throw into the grinder, since this show, also for the actual actor, went on far too long. It made money hand over fist, right? Because it was one of the most popular show ever, but it was also very long and just stayed out its welcome, basically. So
yeah. I have one more because I only technically said one. But this is a show that only I think I will know unless people in the chat will get really good brownie points. It was a Canadian TV show called Big Wolf on Campus. And I only remembered it because we were talking about True Blood. It was this comedy live action show about this high school boy, and he got bitten by an alpha werewolf. So, he turns into werewolves.
Obviously. And
he used it to fight other monsters, or there was always this cult of evil people who wanted to take over the city and stuff. It was a fun little episodic show, kind of like a live action Danny Phantom, except with werewolves. And it was a really funny show. I legitimately liked it for, what it was. And then I think it went on for the second season, and it was absolutely garbage. I don't know how you go too ridiculous with a show about a vampire, about a werewolf teenager fighting other monsters in Canada, but they somehow did, and I couldn't get through the entire second season. I was like, okay, now you've gone too stupid for me, and I watched Scooby-Doo unironically. So you have to go through some kind of Olympian hurdle level of stupid.
I mean, we all have our guilty pleasures, to be honest.
Indeed. And also, we went over the 1.5 hour mark by quite a bit. I mean, we have a guest, so this is kind of understandable that we all went on a little bit longer, but we should get to an end here. Very big sorry to everybody who left questions which have not been asked and therefore not been answered. But do not worry, we keep all questions we get in a document, and I just checked them. There was no specific one for Yuri, so.
So since we are answered 2 questions, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
How many are in the backlog? Just to know. Out of curiosity.
I mean, there's 5 pages worth, and they're all like single space. So does that give you a good frame of reference? We have a lot of backlog. We have a backlog from like the 4th episode of this show. So.
But yeah, we also some questions have more potential to answer than others.
Since the next show is the 20th show, maybe you should do a special one and just making a Q&A show. And blasting through all
idea,
the questions.
Honestly.
What? A bad idea? Or
no,
good
I
idea?
said that's not a bad idea, honestly.
Yeah.
Hey, it's episode 20. We on a even number and such, and confetti and all that. And now
I mean,
we're
we already did our special guest thing, which is usually what our episodes are. So I guess we really don't have that gimmick to fall on anymore.
I mean, didn't we kind of were like, well, Toon Critic gets the 10th and the 20th episode?
I don't think he remembers that, honestly.
So I didn't say anything. And we can just get him here and do a Q&A show anyways, and he can just sit there and be like, why am I here? And we are like, so you can't stream while we are streaming.
Oh yeah, because, his impromptu streams always just suddenly take place on Sundays. Just,
But
I mean, it could be worse. You could do a show on a Thursday when Co-optional Podcast is airing, right? A&Y?
Who's that stupid?
But yeah, Yuri, thank you. It was fun having you here.
Thanks for having me, guys. I wanted to say that at the start, but now I can do it again. So thank you.
It was a lot of fun, dude. You are actually cool.
Thank you. We try.
Look, I just assumed that all of A&Y hangs out with less cool people to make himself feel better about himself. So I never know.
Not even want to comment on that one.
We are 1 month away from me punching you in the face in real life, A&Y. You better step back.
Well, this kind of statement left me with a feeling. How should I describe it? I guess awkward.